welcome to this video. I'm going to let you know straight away that I'm not entirely sure how this video is going to go, what direction it's going to go in, and really what's going to be said. So first of all, welcome to my garden. I'm out here sitting amongst the lavender and I'm underneath my fig tree at the moment because it's a sunny day and I had to find a spot where the sun wasn't glaring too much because it's only springtime here, and the garden is only just starting to come into bloom, so there's still a lot of gaps in terms of the grapevine and a few of the other trees as well that would provide more of a canopy. So it's been a bit of a trial and error trying to find the right spot to make sure that you can actually see me and this doesn't look too terrible. And I really wanted to get outside today because it kind of cements what I want to talk about in this video. So really just to give you a basic understanding of what my aim is for this video is, in some ways it's kind of a little bit of a personal thing for myself and a vlog to kind of track my own progress, because I've always found over the years that using videos and photography is one of the best ways to be able to look back on how far we've come, and it's also a way for me to share things with other people as well, because I feel that the spiritual path, though it's a very big online community, quite often it can still fall into that stereotypical social media trap of people thinking it's all perfect and sunshine and lollipops and always glamorous, or something to sort of joke about if it's not glamorous. And that's really what I want to kind of take away from the spiritual path, and use myself kind of as that test subject. So what I wanted to talk about in this particular vlog, and I'm going to call this vlog number 1 for the spiritual vlogs, is burnout, spiritual burnout, grounding and self-care. And to give you a little bit of a backstory, so many of you who know me personally know that I'm someone who likes to take on board a lot of different projects at once. I can never just stick just to one thing. I have to have my fingers in many different pies. I'm a creative person by nature. So on this channel, I mean, many people would see that it's predominantly my tarot and spiritual topics that I talk about. However, I'm also a photographer, I'm also a writer as well, and I have a work in progress in terms of I'm creating a trilogy. I've written my first book, I'm on my second book at this point in time. So I have a lot of different projects that are going on, and one of the key things that I've always done for all of my life is gardening. So I will try and put in this as well a little bit of a before and after for those of you who might be interested in what my garden started off as. Many years ago, it would have been about 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, if I was sitting in this spot, it would have just been just dirt and nothing else, especially in summer. So I built this garden from the ground up, and the garden is really I want to say happy place, but it's something so much more than that. The garden is a representation of my soul, and people who see my garden, it's not a neat and tidy garden. It's not a straight lines and perfectly manicured or anything. It's very wild, and that's because that's how I feel nature is, and that's how my soul is. It's in some ways a survival of the fittest in this garden as well, so because I plant so many different things and just kind of let them go. But the garden was something that gave me spiritual grounding from when I was going through a very tough time in my life, and going through a complete, in some ways, mental breakdown. I was in a high-end career in real estate and really not not happy with my choices. I wasn't happy in the career that I was in. An office job is not something for me. I do work in admin at the moment. I do have my day job, working with my parents though, so it's a little bit more flexible than what it used to be. So I still work in an office to some extent, and that's something that I'm hoping eventually down the track that my creativity will be able to support me, so that way I can do this kind of thing full time. But that's beside the point. So I really wasn't happy with what I was doing. I'd really neglected my spiritual path and my spiritual self, and it just led to this big crescendo where I had to take a step back from working. I took a few weeks off. I quit my job and took a few weeks off before I transitioned back into hospitality for a little while. And in that space of time, I picked up gardening again. And it started with just a couple of fruit trees that were almost neglected for the first year of being in the ground. They struggled, and one of the first ones was actually this fig tree that I am sitting underneath now. I do have a gardening site that I did create a few years ago, and I did name my garden, and it's called Fig and Pepper Garden, after the fig tree. And it continued to soothe my soul in ways that nothing else ever has. And I identify as a green witch, as many of you would know, because I have talked about that on this channel before. But the garden itself really deepened that spiritual practice. It awakened something inside of me that I had ultimately forgotten was there. And over the years it continued to grow, and I continued to plant things, and I'm a very addictive person. So when I start something, I can get so deeply engrossed into it that it is everything that I do. And that's exactly what happened with gardening. So sometimes I don't always have multiple projects on the go. Sometimes it's just one thing at a time. And at that point in time, it was gardening, and it was my obsession. Every time I wasn't at work, I was down at our local hardware and gardening centre, which is Bunnings. For those of you in Australia, you know Bunnings. And when I would be coming home, even in the middle of the night, I'd be out in the garden. Like if it was dark, I'd turn the lights on and I'd be out weeding and doing things in the garden. And there's a lot of projects that I did, which was one of the biggest ones was ripping up all of the concrete in our entertaining area, and I did that by hand. I was crazy. I did it with a crowbar and a sledgehammer and a wheelbarrow, and I upcycled everything and created raised garden beds out of the concrete. Nothing went to waste, and relaid pavers and gravel down, and created a chessboard or a checkerboard as the key entertaining area. So little things like that. And we've got chickens now, and I've really lost count of how many fruit trees we have on this property now. We've got over 40 fruit trees and flowers and edibles, and the front garden is a veggie garden. So for quite a few years my entire life was spent in this garden, and if I wasn't out in the garden, I was online looking at gardening things. And there's so many things that I've learnt about gardening in general, about myself, and about just spirituality in general, and I really do owe so much to this garden. And it's funny because people don't quite understand unless you have experienced something similar yourself. People won't truly understand just how much of a connection you can have with the land and with plants and with living things. But for me, this is where my heart and soul and blood, sweat and tears, and I literally mean blood, sweat and tears, have gone into this creation. And then as it got big and got to the point where it is now, over the past sort of 12 months, I haven't needed to spend as much time in here doing things because it's kind of doing its own thing. And then I started moving on to other projects, other goals and other things just in life in general got in the way. And ironically, one of those things was actually my spiritual practice. So I deepened my spiritual practice and started going deeper into tarot and astrology and doing more readings for people. And this eventually led to me launching my business as a professional tarot reader. And when we start launching businesses and projects, I mean, even in a spiritual sense, people forget that it's still a business and it's still quite consuming, especially when you're doing your day job and also doing something like this on the side. Now, I'm sure many people can manage it just fine, but then if you're someone like me who has so many different projects going on and that's just who you are and you're a creative person, and you try to do everything perfect, eventually you lead yourself to burnout. And as I explained with the garden, I'm someone who can go so deep into the things that I do that I did the same thing with my spiritual practice, and it was constantly trying to grow, constantly trying to better myself spiritually, whether that be through healing process of going through my shadow work or going through practicing meditations and meeting spirit guides, doing deeper study in terms of astrology or many different things. And I've done many different short courses over the past 12 months that has been invaluable to deepen my spiritual practice. But what we quite often forget is we still need to take time and breaks from this kind of thing. Just because it's a spiritual practice doesn't mean that it's actually relaxing. We can bombard ourselves with so much of this energy, and I started to experience that over the past couple of months. I mean, we all know the energy at the moment is very intense with the things that are happening in the world. I was very lucky that when COVID hit and I stopped my day job for a few months, it was 3 months, I was not at work. I was lucky enough that was the time that I took to launch my spiritual business online, because I had the time to dedicate to it. And I also deepened my practice and did a lot more study and that kind of stuff, and really went deep into working for other people and connecting with other people on a professional level, through helping people with life coaching and shadow work and that kind of energy as well. So I was lucky in that sense, but it also caused me to continue to neglect the simple things in my life more and more. And then when I went back to work, I was already in this habit of doing things, and I'm someone whose patience is not my virtue either. It is definitely not my virtue. And I want things to grow fast and big and quick, and I want to do more, always want to do more. I always want to, because I get so excited about everything, and I get so excited about new ideas and bringing things to people, and creativity and different projects, and I just want to keep doing it all. But what I found was, through neglecting who I was, it was kind of this build up, and it's really started slowly. It's been a 12-month process of this big build up of me neglecting these simple things about myself, and these day-to-day things that I used to do to help keep me grounded and essentially sane. I had neglected for so long, and it kind of came to this big crescendo in the past month. And in some ways, I feel like the energy around us, this astrological energy, the collective energy that we are dealing with, in some ways was final push for me to realize that I need to take a step back, and I need to start grounding myself again and start doing the things that I used to do, and that's gardening. And it doesn't have to be actual intense gardening. I mean, I used to do a daily walk through my garden every single day to observe the changes, because it just changes every single day. And I check it in the evenings as well. And these are little things that used to keep me grounded and used to give me just this small piece of mind. And I hadn't really noticed that I'd neglected it until family members who follow my gardening page started pointing out that they don't see any updates from me anymore, and they don't see, they're upset about this because I used to share it so much. And essentially the gardening was my introduction to the social media world as well. I wasn't active on social media until I started exploring gardening and sharing my gardening journey. And I really wanted to start doing that with spirituality as well, because I found that so many people enjoyed watching that kind of journey. I want to share the spiritual journey as well, and I really wanted to, in a long-winded way, those of you who know me know that I'm not someone who can just say things quickly or simply. I will talk. And I can talk all day. I'm someone who does like to be alone, and I do like my own space, but when I'm talking about things that I'm really passionate about or that light me up on the inside, that are just part of my soul, I can talk all day, every day about it, and it's very hard for me to get to the point. But what I really wanted to bring to everyone's attention is the importance of the simple things in your life and the things that make you you, and especially on a spiritual journey, because spirituality, though it brings such a deep connection to your soul, to others around you, and to the universe in general, it's also very intense and it's very unsettling, and it can leave you too stuck in your mind, too stuck in your higher chakras, if you wanted to look at it from that sense. And we can become unstuck in our day-to-day world. Quite often I also see, I've experienced it myself, and I see it with other people as well, that we become stuck in the spiritual world, and that's quite dangerous in many ways. I mean, we are material beings. We are in this 3D world. We are physical, and we are meant to experience this physical life. So we do run this risk of essentially what I like to call spiritual burnout, where everything becomes heavy, and this spiritual drain on our energy ends up affecting us on a physical level as well. And you probably will notice it yourself when you're feeling just heavy and tired, and you might have plenty of ideas and be feeling okay in terms of happiness and joy, but also feel this real lack of motivation and lack of energy, and constantly finding excuses to say, oh no, I'm not going to do this now, I'll do it later when I've got more time and more energy, or like I say, when things are more perfect, when the setting's right, or even down to when I've lost weight. Like, as silly as it seems, these are the kind of excuses that come up. Like, even today, I had been dreaming about filming this video for weeks and weeks. And I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get out into the garden. And I have been in the garden all day. I've been weeding, and I've been mending archways and pruning things, and just doing a lot of maintenance, so that way it's easy for me to start doing my morning walks again through the garden. And I'd kept saying to myself, once I'm done, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to video this. And I didn't. I went inside, and I sat down inside, and I was watching things that were inspirational. I was watching fellow YouTubers and vloggers that I really admire, that always inspire me, that I always go, I wish I could do what they're doing. And you know what? I just sat there thinking to myself, I can do it, and I'm gonna do it now. The sun's still out. There's still enough light. Why not do it now? It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to have a face full of makeup on and I don't have to wait till I've lost weight to look skinnier on the camera, and all of these crazy things that you say to yourself, because this is essentially what we do to ourselves in the world. And it doesn't matter if you're a spiritual person or not. We all fall into these traps of not doing the things that we really want to do, and express ourselves and our heart and our soul, because of fear or excuses or waiting for the right time. And essentially there is no such thing as the right time. And it's funny because I say this so often to people when I do readings for people, or even coaching for people. A lot of the stuff that I say to others, it's very hard sometimes for us to practice what we preach. And this is because, we do experience this burnout ourselves. And what I wanted to kind of start showing was a bit of a behind the scenes, in terms of understanding that just because some people may look up to me and admire me, and I'm forever grateful and thankful that the knowledge that I have, that I can impart to other people, inspires other people and helps other people on their own journey. But sometimes it's quite hard when we fall into a role of being, a guide or a mentor or a leader to other people. You end up putting more pressure on yourself, because you expect that you need to have expectations on yourself of being perfect, of being practicing what you preach, of always being a particular role. And the reality is you just can't be that. It's impossible to be that. And I kind of wanted to start showing that it's okay to be human, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's even as someone who helps other people and guides other people, it's showing that we are, that we're all human. And in some ways I find that that's more inspirational than imparting the knowledge and the wisdom and learning things that you might not have learned any other way. Because to me, the people who I look up to the most and the people who I learn from the most are actually the people who share their failures and share their mistakes and their behind the scenes aspect. That's the things that I look for. I look for that kind of, I love following people who just talk about their everyday, because that's what I want to know about. I want to know about people's everyday lives. Even when I look through history, I've always wondered, well, how did they live every single day of their lives? And that's what I want to start sharing when it comes to this, of understanding that the spiritual journey can be just as tough as the physical one, and not in the sense of going through that shadow work or anything like that. It's just in the sense that it too has its traps of feeling like it needs to be perfect, and nothing is ever perfect. So I kind of wanted to do a video just to, first of all, introduce the concept of what I want to do. I want to start doing this a little bit more, where I just perhaps take you on a little bit of a journey into a day of my life, here and there, and share with you the things that make my heart sing and the things that inspire me, that really ignite my spiritual self, and also my physical self, and to just show you too that it's okay to make mistakes and that we are all human. And I really wanted to just do this first one as a reminder for you all to take some time to do the things that you love, and to do something that you don't have to put a lot of thought into. You can just do it. You can just let go and be free, and really relax and ground yourself. And self-care is so important, especially at the moment with energies so crazy and so heavy, for lack of a better word. Make sure you take some time for yourself to really explore some self-care. So, well, as I said, I didn't really know where that was going to go. It's been 25 minutes of me talking already, so thank you for listening if you did get through all of this, and I hope that you guys do enjoy this. If not, it doesn't matter. If only one person watches this and it touches their life, then that's okay with me. As I said, this is also for a little bit for myself as well, so I can start reflecting on my life and my journey. That's one thing I love about social media, is it's a great place for memories and sharing these kind of memories and sharing growth and inspiration. So thank you for joining me in my garden, everyone, and I'm sending you lots of love. Bye.